Hello and howdy, and welcome to a little bit different format of episode number 10 of Front Range Hockey, the Front Range Hockey podcast, Front Range Hockey program, whatever you prefer to call it. We are here, and you're going to catch this. We're recording on Thursday, March 18th. Probably going to listen to this maybe Monday. How about Friday? Please listen to this on Friday. The information will be a lot more relevant. So I guess I'm jumping ahead past the weekend for some reason, but I'm CC Hawkley from Full Press Hockey, and that's Scott McDonald from Colorado Hockey Now. Scotty, how are you today, my friend?
I'm doing really good. I'm excited. I got a game to gear up for. I'm heading to Ball Arena shortly after recording this to see the Avs take on the Minnesota Wild, who are red hot, by the way. And I'm stoked to be back in this old format they're in here. Like this is we're back on Zoom. We've been using a different platform since we started Full Press Hockey, but we're recording on a Thursday too. We used to record on Thursdays. Like
We did.
we're back to the roots here, and I'm loving it.
Yeah, this is a little bit of a throwback. I'd forgotten that we used to record on Thursday for a Friday drop. And yeah, I mean, so many things changed with us, going on StreamYard and, recording live, that started the, past couple episodes ago. But yeah, I had to take a night for myself. I mean, I was pretty tired, pretty sleep deprived. And I was like, you know what? Some stuff came up and I just needed to take a break. So I am refreshed. I am ready to go. And are you ready to talk some Colorado hockey, my friend?
Always, my man.
Always.
I'm excited.
Always. Good to hear. Good to hear. Well, hey, let's talk first and foremost some breaking news from today that's super important. Ball Arena. Ball Arena is going to be allowing fans again. Hallelujah, Ball Arena. 4,050 fans are going to be allowed for Avs games. Well, and Nuggets games too, but obviously, Front Range Hockey, we're going to be focusing on the Avalanche, but April 2nd is when they can officially allow fans. And here's the statement from ESPN.com. Kroenke Sports and Entertainment announced Thursday it received a capacity variance approval from the Colorado Department of Health and Environment. The total amount of fans is 22% of the venue's overall capacity. Scott, on a level from hype to super hyped, maybe ultra hyped? Where are you at?
I'm up in the stratosphere as far as ultra hyped. I probably speak on behalf of the players too. They kind of mentioned it today. After that news broke during the media availability, that they're pumped.
Yeah.
Like they've mentioned it when they've been on the road, like in Arizona. Obviously, I think the big joke is that when they played in Arizona, that it was mostly Avs fans there, and they said it got them pumped up. Like it makes a huge difference. They won those games, and that's what they play for. Like I've covered a couple games now, just me and a few other media members in an empty Ball Arena where stuff's echoing, and it's very, very lonely. They try to pump some crowd noise in there, but it's not the same. And I feel okay speaking on behalf of the players when I say we're all pretty stoked about it, and it's awesome. Another thing that's I think really cool that Kroenke's doing is on the 31st, before anyone's allowed in, on the 2nd, when the general public or the season ticket holders are in. They're hosting like a first responders night. I'm not sure what the game is, but yeah, medical workers, frontline workers, first responders of any kind, they get the arena to themselves, and I think that's a pretty cool, tip of the cap, and a nice gesture for all the things they've done for us this past over a year now.
Yeah.
I've said it a couple times to some friends, but if anything good has come of COVID and what's happened, obviously it's been a very, very terrible time, but I think one good thing that's come out of it is our appreciation for frontline workers. It's like they've kind of been thrust into the spotlight over this past year, but they do that stuff every day of their lives, even before COVID. I think what they do is an impossible job, and they do it to keep us all protected and safe, and we love them for that. So good for Kroenke, good for the Avalanche for kind of having that first responders night, and they're the first ones that are going to get to watch a live sports game in the state of Colorado for over the last year. So that's awesome. Good for them.
Yeah. I hadn't heard about the first responders game, but I'm in the same boat. No, it's really good to hear that Kroenke Sports and Entertainment and just the Avalanche are really going to put forward that they're going to put that foot forward and do that for everyone who's been so integral in providing some sanity and providing, well, I mean, sanity at their at their benefit, well, our benefit, not their benefit.
Sure.
They're, risking their sanity for us to keep ours, I guess you could put it. But yeah, that's really good to hear. And so April 2nd, here we go. That's gonna have fans back in. And now we just got to hear from up in Loveland and see when if the Eagles are going to start hosting fans again. So stay tuned. We'll see if that happens. But Scott, let's talk about the on ice product, about the Avalanche. So, wow, the Avs have strung together 4 games. So
there's that consistency that I've been wanting to see all season.
There it is. Yeah. So, you've got March 8th, the Avs taking on the Arizona Coyotes, 2-1 victory in overtime. March 10th, Colorado blanking the LA Kings 2-0. March 14th, Colorado laying 4 goals on the LA Kings and limiting them to 1. March 16th, holy cow, 8 goals from the Avalanche and allowing 4. But that last game apparently was the straw that broke the camel's back and increased the volume to 10 or 11 in regards to the cries for Hunter Miska not being a viable backup goaltender for Philip Grubauer, because Grubs had to come in and had to, he had to come in. Gosh, words are failing me tonight. He had to come in. When you come in? Relief. Thank you.
Gotcha.
You got my back. He had to come in relief of Hunter Miska and salvage that game. And thankfully, the Avs scorers also kind of dug the Avalanche out of that game, an 8-4 victory over the Ducks. And like I said, the cries for Hunter Miska have all but increased. Well,
it's unfortunate because I actually just wrote a column about this too, and kind of threw myself under the bus as far as at free cold takes goes. I think it was like the 23rd of February, after he just gotten his first win. I think I said, I was like, I've said it multiple times on various podcasts now that I think Hunter Miska deserves a chance to be the NHL backup. I don't think the Avalanche should, sell the farm and make a trade for a backup. And I was like, see, here's the proof. He played, like a stud, and got the win. I guess it was in Arizona. And I was like, see, like I told you, this guy can do it. I've been watching him. I've been covering him in the AHL for a long time. He stole the job from Adam Werner. This guy's legit. Like he plays on his head, and it's unreal. And of course, now he's had kind of a tough time over the past, few starts, which is unfortunate. And, the joke was on Twitter, immediately as soon as he got pulled and let in 4 goals on 7 shots, people were quote tweeting that tweet from 3 weeks ago and getting in my face about
brutal.
There's some funny ones too. Yeah. It's this aged fine milk or something.
Hey, you know what, Scott?
Yeah.
When people are quote tweeting your bad takes, that just goes to show you that you've made it, my friend.
That's Seriously. What I'm saying. It's you guys really dug through my mentions to look for this one. I was like, good for you. Honestly,
it's and that's the thing. I noticed in your header on Twitter, you posted Scott McDonald's half and half. Sometimes he's right on the money, but other times he's just ridiculous or something like that. And it's once people start paying attention to you, it's we're all kind of self-absorbed, and that's not a bad thing. That's just kind of the human condition, in my opinion. But when people start giving a damn about you and what you have to say about the Colorado Avalanche, that, my friend, that is when you're okay, my words have credence now. And granted, you're not going to be right all the time, especially when it comes to sports takes, like you said, at freezing cold takes, but yeah, I mean, it's the thing was, Scott, that you are man enough, or you're just, you've got the integrity to put it a little more succinctly. You've got the integrity as a journalist to own up to what you've said, and you're not going to shy away from that and be like, oh, I never said that. It's hey, that was my bad. And so, you owned up to it. And I think, kudos to you for that.
Thanks. Yeah. And that was the intro to the column I wrote. And I was I think I said that the last line I said on that tweet from, the 23rd of February, when I was don't make a trade, trust this guy. And I said, I stand by my word. And that was my intro to the column, was I stand by my word, and I still do. And I was wrong. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe he's not ready to be an NHL backup, but I stand by my word in the sense that I think the Avalanche should give him a shot. and I think they did give him the shot. And where I was wrong was that he's ready to be an NHL backup. And I think, we've seen enough of a sample size now, where, he's having a tough go at it. And I asked Jared Bednar about it too. After he got, pulled, I guess whenever that game was, he said he was going to have a chat. He's like, after the game, he's like, I haven't had a chance to talk to Hunter Miska yet, but I will, the next morning, like tomorrow morning after practice. So tomorrow morning after practice, that was the first question that I asked him was, you said last night you talked a bunch about Hunter Miska, and, he was honestly very nice about the situation. It's like, this guy came in, like I wasn't expecting to, to make miracles for us. Like when we came in the season, it's obviously not an ideal situation, but I think he's played. We've seen a lot of good from him, and he's had a couple of tough outings, and it is what it is. So I asked him, I was like, what kind of conversations, just like Hunter Miska aside, what kind of conversations do you have with those young kids? And like, how do those go when, he's a young guy, he's played 5 games in the NHL, 6 games in the NHL, whatever it is. And he's probably feeling pretty damn down on himself. Like, what do you say to a player like Hunter Miska right now? And he gave me like a very, very nice quote that went on for about like 2 minutes about like what he says to those guys. And Hunter Miska specifically is like, it was honestly like a brief conversation. It's the same thing I say to all the guys. It's keep your head up. It's like, we're not expecting you to, it's like that happens to everybody. It's a good learning experience, and like, just keep your head up and keep grinding. Like, we're not going to send you down. We're not going to bench you. Like, he kind of mentioned that he's going to get like another start or two, to kind of, cause I mean, I think that's fair too. It's like, after you get pulled, like that, and you're feeling it on Twitter, which, by the way, someone pointed out to me that he deleted his Twitter. Hunter Miska did, and I'm honestly kind of heartbroken about it. Like that he's, kind of feeling the heat with that. And I checked. It's like, he's right. Like, it's the Twitter account's gone, and that's sad that he's really feeling that pressure. And a lot of people were mean. Like I tweeted about it, and even like the column I wrote, it's like, man, you guys are like incredibly disrespectful. Like, this kid has played 5 games in the NHL. Like, you go strap some pads on and take some shots. It's like, everyone has bad days, and like we just talked about it before this call. We weren't having the best day yesterday, and like we decided to take a night off, and like that happens. That's human nature. That's life. So I don't think it's fair to kind of attack this guy like people have been. And sure, maybe he's not ready to be an NHL backup, and we can leave it at that. But like, you don't have to burn him at the stake and like throw stones at him. It's just a game, and the Avs won, by the way. So everyone relax. Like, it's not a huge deal. But to kind of wrap up that, it's unfortunate. Maybe I was wrong about the situation. Maybe he's not ready to be an NHL backup. And when I asked Bednar like how that conversation went, he kind of insinuated, he literally said, maybe he's not ready to be an NHL backup yet, but that's okay. We're always evaluating. Like, we'll see what his next start looks like. But he's obviously not going to be the long-term solution, and is never supposed to be. But I think, what Bednar did by pulling him in the first period was a huge statement for, one, the team. He obviously cares about winning this game so much. Like, Philip Grubauer has been the MVP of the Avalanche, in my opinion, throughout the season. He needs some time off, because God forbid he goes down, it's game over for the Avalanche, and they have nothing. And then Hunter Miska is your starting goalie. So for him to, have a scheduled night off like that, a well-deserved, rest day, and to pull him after one period, one, proves that, Bednar cares so much about winning that he's willing to, take a guy off the bench like that and do everything they can to win the game. And, props to him, because they did. The Avs kind of rallied and won that game, scored 6 unanswered and won the game. But 2, I think it kind of makes a statement to Joe Sakic as well, that like, he's like, hey, this is, I think that's how I ended my column too. Is like, it makes a statement that, 1, this team wants to win, and 2, it's a statement to Joe Sakic that, hey, make a move. Like, we need a backup goalie, and we need one, quick. And if you want to keep playing like Philip Grubauer, like, we'll keep playing Philip Grubauer and hope he stays healthy. But, I need someone a little bit better than Hunter Miska. And that's how like I took it. And I think that's how a lot of people took it. And I think that's what the situation is. So we'll see in the coming, days or weeks. There is no update on Francouz. I think someone asked at the last press conference. So I'm assuming at this point he's out for the season. And it's time. Joe Sakic's got to pull the trigger, because Philip Grubauer has played, I think, the most games of any goalie in the NHL so far, and that's just not sustainable. Like, I think today's game marks, I guess Thursday's game, if you guys are listening to this, marks I think the exact halfway point of the season. and he can't keep up this 90% goalie start share for the rest of the year and then play in the playoffs. It's time. Like, they got to make a move.
Scott, it's why Montreal went out and acquired Jake Allen from the St. Louis Blues. It's
Exactly.
because Carey Price couldn't carry, no pun intended. Carey Price couldn't carry 50 plus games per season like he was. That's the thing. In today's NHL, you can't put a goaltender through that. This isn't Martin Brodeur starting 60, 65 games for the New Jersey Devils in the 90s. You can't do that these days. And so not with the speed of the game, not with, the modern game's totally different. So Philip Grubauer needs a solid 1B. And, it sucks that we're at this point and that we're this far into the season and we're finally making this call. But like you said, you gave Hunter Miska a chance. Don't burn him at the stake, for crying out loud. It's like people on Twitter adding him and, causing him to feel like he has to delete his Twitter account. That's not cool. It's like, be a fan, but don't be a jerk when something bad happens. It's like, it reminds me, when Boise State was gunning for a national championship a few years ago and their kicker missed a field goal against Nevada and he got hate mail and death threats. It's like, give these kids a break, and they're kids, they're in their 20s, still growing up, still figuring life out. And it's like, oh, you're sending them death threats. Don't you feel like a big man, but Anyway, I digress. Scott, you're covering the game tonight when we're recording this. Thursday night, Minnesota at Colorado at Ball Arena, March 18th. So we will not belabor the point of Hunter Miska, and we'll move on to the next topic, the Colorado Eagles. And actually, this is something I do all the time on the Calder Farmstead, but I haven't done on Front Range Hockey. I'm going to pause for a couple seconds so that we can have some sponsors say a word. So I've been terrible about that for Front Range Hockey. So hang tight, listen to the ads, because Scott and I get paid, not a huge amount, but hey, we'd like to make a little money for what we do. So after these messages, we'll be right back. Stay tuned. All right, and we're back from the other side of the advertisements. Scott McDonald from Colorado Hockey Now, CC Hawkley from Full Press Hockey, talking about Front Range Hockey. And next up is the Colorado Eagles. And of course, I'm your man. I'm talking about the Eagles. 4-game set. Friday, Saturday, Tuesday, Wednesday. 4 games in Cedar Park, Texas against the Texas Stars. First game didn't go so hot for the Eagles. Josh Melnick for the Stars scored 34 seconds in. And Ty Felhaber, Phil Haber. I forget how it's pronounced.
I think it's Philibar, maybe. I don't know.
Philibar. There we go. That's it. I'm like, I'm not saying this name right. I just heard it on AHL TV. And yeah, Philibar, 3 minutes and 44 seconds. Texas goes up 2-0 early on Friday, March 12th. Vecchione and Mika Salamaki have a first and third period goal, but there was no scoring from either team in the second period. And the Stars took that one 4-2. Next game on Saturday night, the only game I watched actually of this series, Colorado responding in a big way. Goals from Vecchione, Ian Scheid, TJ Tynan, and Miles Gendron, all in the first period. And so you come out swinging 4-0. And they held it for a while. It was 4-1 going later on into the third period. And then Riley Damiani decided, I'm going to take over this game and score a natural hat trick. And that's exactly what he did. And he pushed the Eagles to the precipice, 4-3 with like 17 seconds left. Liam O'Brien right off the faceoff, empty net goal. Eagles get the win, 5-3. And the Eagles took the next 2 games, overtime wins, March 16th, Tuesday, 5-4 victory. How that game went down. So Anthony Lewis scored first for Texas, and then you got 3 straight Colorado Eagles goals. Jean-Luc Foudy scoring his first professional goal that night, and not just his first. Hang tight. I'll get into that. But then Texas came back and scored 3 straight goals. So you got the Eagles on fire, and then the Stars on fire. Foudy, with 11 seconds left in the game, has a killer toe drag. Whoop! Wrister ties the game, sends it to overtime, and guess who scores the overtime goal? His first AHL goal of the season. Welcome back, Martin Kaut. winning the game for the Eagles on March 16th, Tuesday. That's an overtime win. And like I said, they had an overtime win against the Stars on March 17th, that Wednesday. Lewis again, starting off the scoring for Texas early on in that game. Bowers and Dries responding in the first period. And then you got 2 Nick Baptiste goals in the second period, kind of a back and forth affair with Texas and Colorado. That's how they're doing it. TJ Tynan scoring in the third period and the overtime period. Texas just literally fell apart in front of Colton Point to the point. Again, no pun intended. I promise I'm not planning this. I'm just saying words. Words are just coming out. But Colton Point, guy falls down in front of him. Point loses his glove, and Tynan just puts the puck in the empty net. And so Stars lose. Eagles take 3 of 4 games. If there's any point in the season that you come in, you win the close games, granted, you're allowing a lot of goals, and we'll get to that in a second, but the Eagles are really showing a lot of fortitude in going into Texas, playing 4 games in 6 days, and you take 75% of those games. I count that as a major victory on the score sheet and a moral victory too.
Absolutely. And especially against a good Texas Stars team. And just like the Avalanche, they're kind of hitting their stride right now. Avs won 4 in a row. Eagles won 3 in a row. They're looking good. I've been super impressed with Jean-Luc Foudy.
Told you.
I hope, yeah, you did. You pointed that out at the beginning of the season. Like, I was not expecting this from the kid, but wow, he's really knocked my socks off. And, I'm kind of just selfishly hoping that the OHL doesn't get started. And at this point, I'm not sure they will. I still don't even think they have a return to play plan in place yet. So he might be, a revelation. And what is he, like 18 years old, maybe 19?
I want to say he's 19. I will double check that though real quick.
He looks good, yeah. I think I was just checking the stats. He might be second on the Eagles in points. Yeah.
Really?
That's ridiculous as a rookie.
Yeah, he's got 8 points, 2 goals,
in
6
14
assists,
games. Yeah.
14 games. He is 18. He turns 19 on May 13th. So, yeah, 2002. If that doesn't make you feel old.
Wow. Jeez. But yeah, I mean, hey, the Eagles look great. This is exactly what you want to see. They're back to 500 and within a striking distance of some of the teams ahead of them in the standings. So, it's not all doom and gloom as it was the last time we recorded, and it's crazy what a difference a week makes for both the Avalanche and the Eagles. And
Spiral Staircase, that band from the 60s and 70s said, "What a difference a day makes." But hey, what a difference a week makes for the
7
Colorado
days
Eagles.
makes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So let's hope they keep it rolling. That's all it takes in the game of hockey and really any sport in general. It's just, a little bit of confidence. And once you start rolling and, you're kind of firing on all cylinders, then, things start falling in place as they may. So let's hope it keeps going.
Absolutely. So, let me check here. I'm going to see league standings. You mentioned that they're starting to catch up, or at least they're back at 500 in their points percentage. So yeah, the Eagles are 5th out of 7 teams in the Pacific Division. You still have Henderson. My God, the juggernaut that's Henderson, 11-2-0.
I think the Eagles have them next, right?
Yes, they do. They're going to travel to the Orleans Arena there in Las Vegas, where the ECHL's Las Vegas Wranglers used to play, for all those ECHL fans out there. Mm-hmm. Yes. So Wednesday, the 24th, Friday the 26th, and Saturday the 27th, they're playing at Henderson. So yeah, the Eagles a little bit more of a tall order in front of them as opposed to the Stars. Well, the Stars have been playing well. I mean, they're second in the Central Division still. So yeah, but Bakersfield is second place, 9-6-0. They started the season 0-5, by the way. So they've rattled off. They've gone 9-1 since then. So Bakersfield catching fire at just the right time. San Jose 6-4-4. San Diego in 4th, 9-9. They started off kind of hot and have tapered off. And then the Eagles, Tucson at 6-8-0. Eagles are 6-6-2, by the way. And then Ontario's starting to catch fire a little bit. They've won 4 straight, 5-10-2. Still in the basement rather, of the Pacific Division. One last news of note, or at least point of interest rather, for the Colorado Eagles. Parker Gahagan and Kevin Carr were your goaltending tandem for Wednesday night. Where the hell was Adam Werner?
See, that's actually, I tried, reaching out to some people to figure that out, but I have a feeling that, going back to Hunter Miska, I've been checking the transactions page. I'm not sure, where exactly he's at. but I mean, it could just be like an injury. He tweaked something, gave him the night off, and he didn't dress. I don't know.
Could have
Or,
been.
Adam Warner might be backing up Philip Grubauer tonight in Denver. So we'll
Ooh.
I'll report back to you on that one. But
Yeah, keep us
we shall
posted.
see.
That's very interesting. But I mean, yeah, it's so crazy. You look at his stat line this season, Adam Warner, 2-2-0, 3.52 goals against average, 0.875 save percentage. It's kind of Hunter Miska-esque in the NHL. It's like Hunter Miska's posting kind of a similar stat line, if I'm not mistaken. So, I mean, Adam Warner, his first game in the NHL was a shutout. So
It's
it's
true.
like,
And his second game wasn't so great, but
yeah, well,
yeah.
yeah. As Sean O'Brien likes to say on the Calder Farmstead, goaltending is voodoo, and it's 100% true. Because
Yeah.
you want to talk about consistency, it takes a hell of an effort from a goaltending man or woman. I don't want to be gender exclusive here. It takes a hell of an effort for a goaltender to be consistent all the time, and it's just so hard. So many
They're
factors going into it.
notorious for being like the hardest to develop. You talk to any general manager, coach, anybody, they'll tell you that exact same line, that goalies are, hard to develop, and you just don't know. Like, they can be a number one overall draft pick and then just be scrubs in whatever respective league they're in. Or, that's why it's interesting. You see like a lot of, the top performing Vezina Trophy candidate goalies in the NHL are like undrafted, fifth, sixth, seventh round, like kind of guys. Because you never know.
Yeah.
It's
I
tough,
mean,
and that's exactly like what Bednar said about Miska too. He's like, look, we're not gonna like judge, especially a goalie of all people. We're not gonna judge him on one bad game or a couple of bad nights. Like, the kid hasn't played hockey in over a year. Like, his last game was with the Eagles in February, and now we're asking him to be the NHL backup. After he's started in one game in his like
right?
NHL career heading into this year. So it's like he pretty much just like towed the line around saying, like, everyone's to kind of back off this kid. Like, he's going to be just fine. And like, I don't think
Mhm.
he, deserves all this criticism. So that's what I was trying to say earlier, is like, I really appreciated Bednar's answer. And like, he's a coach's coach, and he's a player's coach too. Like,
Mhm.
he's always going to take the side of his players, and, do what they want and try to be their best friends. And, it's something I like about him. It's something that, brings the locker room together. And I like that he didn't, throw Miska under the bus, even though he like pulled him. He's like, look, that was, my decision.
Mhm.
It's not, we're not going to indict him on one bad game. He kept using the word indict, which I liked. Um, so yeah, it's like, it's tough. And like, same thing with Werner. It's like he, had an incredible debut to his NHL career. And then what
Mhm.
happened like the next game? That's just, it's so inconsistent with goalies, and it really is a mental mind game, especially with goalies. We were talking about confidence is everything in sports. With goalies, it's probably more so that you let in one bad goal, you have one bad game, and that's you're not sleeping for a couple of days. That's something that weighs on you heavy, because at the end of the day, like it could be a breakdown in defensive coverage, but you're the one that let the goal in, and it's something that is tough, and it weighs on you, and it's heavy to carry on your shoulders, but you got to kind of get past that. And especially for goalies, it's tough. That's why I feel it's so bad for Miska, especially.
And that's the thing, Scott, is that you have these guys, and I feel like we've talked about it before. This year is so unique in the fact that you have the taxi squad. You have that one goaltender, and Warner spent time there. Miska spent time there. Now Peyton Jones is spending time there, and you have this taxi squad limbo, this purgatory between the NHL and the AHL. It feels like, even though they practice with the NHL team, they're not getting any legit playing time. And that's the thing, is like, Werner was rusty. I saw him in his first game back, and he was totally rusty, but he started getting better. At least I felt like, as time progressed. But I mean, you're letting in 3 or 4 goals a night, you're going to have a crappy stat line. So, it's just like, these guys don't have time to knock off the rust, whether it's Miska in the NHL, Warner in the AHL. And, it's like they want to maybe develop, and see what they have in like a Parker Gahagen. Of
Yeah.
course, the Eagles are familiar with him. He served as an emergency backup goaltender 3 years ago, but you kind of maybe want to see, and this, if there's any season to experiment, this is the one. So, I mean,
Absolutely.
but for the Avs, I mean, they're going to be playing for the Stanley Cup. Rumors, and probably more true than not, there's not going to be a Calder Cup playoffs this season in the AHL. And so, it's like the NHL, it's a little bit more high stakes to replace Miska than it is for Werner. And if you don't have confidence that anybody in your system is ready to be an NHL backup goaltender, then you got to go acquire one. Like you said, not to rehash the Miska situation, but I digress. We'll get to that here in a little bit. But first, we actually have some collegiate news to talk about because I apparently don't know how the NCHC works. I am.
Nor do I, apparently.
The postseason anyway, because the top 8 teams in the NCHC got to partake in the Frozen Face-Off up there in Grand Forks, North Dakota. So Denver facing off, 5-seed Denver facing off against 4-seed Omaha, and Denver eking out a win 5-4 on Saturday, March 13th, and pushing the Fighting Hawks to the limit. North Dakota, the host, the 1 seed, the top seed, pushed them to overtime, 2-1, lost in OT. Denver so close to making it to that final.
That was a heartbreaker. That was honestly one of the better hockey games I've seen in quite some time. I watched that thing all the way to the end. It looks like they had it. It was obviously not a high scoring game. So you're like, well, Scott, why is it like that entertaining? But it was just such a fast pace, like back and forth. Like there was close calls. Like there could have been way more goals, obviously, than the one that there was heading into the final 2 minutes of play. And man, I thought the DU was going to do it. And that's all that matters. Like especially in college, like March Madness. We could talk about that real quick. I know it's not hockey, but it's literally anyone's game. Like you could be the number 1 seed and you see the 16s upset it, because it's a totally different season at the college level. So when DU goes in, it's like, screw their record. Like who cares what their record is? Like we're playing, every team is playing in the NCHC playoffs. Like let's just go out there and like, what do we have to lose? Let's go win some games. And, North Dakota's been, the number 1, the Kings all season long, and haven't moved from that position, got pushed all the way to the brink. And, DU upset Omaha, and then, going into North Dakota while they're in North Dakota. And there's fans, by the way, in North Dakota.
There is.
So that's, it was an angry kind of crowd. And that was just heartbreaking, going in 1-0, I think it was like 90 seconds left. Just kind of a ricochet goal to tie the game, and then lost it in overtime, obviously. But, if you're going to take any moral victories on this season, like it was that. And I liked what I saw from DU. And a lot of people think that they might get a bid. I think Selection Sunday, for college hockey is this Sunday, the 21st. And a lot of people think like, they've had a bad season, but they might have just won their spot in the tournament through their NCHC playoffs and pushing North Dakota to the brink. And they beat North Dakota a couple times, and they're honestly just been kind of depleted by injuries. And I know these are all like excuses, but they're a better team than what their record indicates. And I think, I would love to see them in the playoffs or in the tournament, see what they can do. And it'll be especially fun because, Loveland is hosting the West Regionals. So DU would actually be playing as the home team in Loveland starting the 27th of March. So maybe that gives them a boost. I don't know if that's how they weigh that stuff, but I have a good feeling that I think DU might be in the tournament this year, despite their, sub 500 record.
Hey, when you make a statement against one of the best teams in the nation in North Dakota, I mean, that can't hurt your chances. I mean, there's something to be said about performance and, obviously hockey analytics and gosh, what's the basketball metric, the college basketball metric that they use to say like who on the bubble qualifies? I'm forgetting it. I want to say BMI, but that's body mass index. I know that's not right.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know.
There's a point system. There's a point system that they use, and if they use that in college hockey, DU definitely notched a few points, and made a statement in that game. And you want to talk about making a statement? Colorado College, the 7 seed against 2 seed St. Cloud State. Quite a transition there. Don't mind me, but Colorado College scoring first against St. Cloud State. But honestly, they grabbed defeat from the jaws of victory, because at 17:06 in the second period, Zach Berzola got a 5-minute game misconduct for kneeing. And so St. Cloud State, of course, when you're a good hockey team, you capitalize on chances when they're just handed to you like that. So 18:59 of the second period, Zach Okabe with the power play goal. And then St. Cloud State, of course, they tied the game right there. St. Cloud State, with less than 4 minutes left in the game, score the go-ahead goal. Nick Perbix on an even strength goal at 16:05 in the third period. So the headline for this is Huskies survive scare from CC to advance to Frozen Face-Off semifinals. So I think that, yeah, I mean, it kind of encapsulates the disappointment and the disappointing season that CC has had thus far. But hey, some good news, at least on the on an individual front for the Colorado College Tigers. So Josiah Slavin, the Chicago Blackhawks announced on Tuesday they agreed to terms with forward Josiah Slavin, 2-year entry-level deal that runs through 2022-23. He begins his professional career, rather, and reports immediately to the Rockford Ice Hogs of the AHL on an amateur tryout. So congratulations, Josiah Slavin of the Colorado College Tigers. Way to go, man.
Yeah, good for him.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably it's not great for CC, but it's like
well,
he's pretty stoked. The same thing happened last year to DU's captain. Same organization. Chicago obviously likes, they love their NCHC products. So defenseman, I guess. Is he a defenseman, Slavin?
He's a forward.
Oh, he's a forward. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, they like their college athletes. So yeah, good for them. Good for him for turning pro. That's awesome. And yeah, you're getting thrown straight to the Wolves. I guess literally. I think, does he play or the Rockford Ice Hogs?
But they do play the Chicago Wolves, so he's getting thrown to the Wolves.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get at. But I mean, he's literally and figuratively, getting thrown to the Wolves. Going straight from college and just wrapping it up to like playing against the big boys. Like, all right, it's time to do it. Just like Jean-Luc Foudy with the Eagles.
Yeah, I mean, when you're ready, you're ready. And so Slavin's going to hit the ground running, and hopefully he impresses on that ATO. We'll see. Elaine Shercliffe, AHL Central Division correspondent for Full Press Hockey, she'll definitely be keeping an eye out on Josiah Slavin and see. She's covering all 6 teams in the Central Division this year. She is a machine. Yikes. And she took a break of her own. You want to talk about, a nice, taking a break, taking a day off from covering games. I mean, she's been an animal. So I'm very thankful that she's taking a break, taking care of herself, but she'll keep an eye on Slavin for sure. Last but not least, collegiate hockey, Colorado Collegiate Hockey, a name that we've mentioned a couple times here on the Front Range Hockey program, Billy Christopolous. So on March 2nd, he signed a PTO with the Henderson Silver Knights. The Indy Fuel owns his ECHL rights, and they loaned him so he could, join the Henderson Silver Knights roster. Got released from that PTO on March 10th, but just came across my inbox today from the Hershey Bears. Hershey signing Billy Christopolous to a PTO on Thursday, March 18th. So Christopolous still landing on his feet in the AHL, and doesn't have to report back to the Indy Fuel, at least not for the time being. So we'll see how he does in Hershey. We'll keep you guys posted on the Air Force Falcons product. But yeah, again, more Colorado Collegiate Hockey guys getting opportunities at the AHL level. You love to see it.
Always love to see it.
Always love to see it, for sure. All right. Well, hey, we're going to take another break for some advertisements. Be sure to listen. And again, if you listen, if you play it through, Scott and I get a little stipend for our hard work. So
please.
We're going to take please. Exactly. just a little, may we have some more, sir? Hang tight. We'll be right back. All right. Thanks for listening to some ads. We're finishing up the show with our favorite segment, Asking the Feed. I know Scott, he gets giddy. I get giddy. It's just a atmosphere of giddiness when it comes to Asking the Feed. So first and foremost, let's start off with Karen Sherritt at Karen Sherritt 4. Not her first time asking questions. We always appreciate her queries. So Karen says, what changes do you see occurring in the lineup with Bo, Kale, and JT being available?
Well, I guess we kind of already know what the lineup is. I could check for you. So Bo and Cal McCarr, Bo Byram and Cal McCarr are back Thursday. So that's awesome. I couldn't tell you come out. Let me check actually.
Okay.
As far as JT Confer, actually, like I just tweeted this out. I tweeted a story earlier about how I don't think you could take Logan O'Connor out of the lineup, and this is getting stale, my shtick about Logan O'Connor, but like, God damn it, this guy deserves to be on the team. Like this guy's great. And
Yeah.
I wrote that story about. So I was watching Sunday night's NBCSN broadcast, and Pierre Maguire, while Logan O'Connor was playing, he said, this is a guy who never gets enough respect. And it happened on a shift where he was just buzzing all over the ice. Like, it's a typical Logan O'Connor shift.
Mm-hmm.
And Pierre Maguire is the lead analyst for NBC hockey, said that this guy doesn't get enough respect, and that to me kind of thrust him into the national spotlight a little bit. So I ripped off that quote and kind of wrote a whole column about it, and got some quotes from Eagles coach Greg Cronin about him and how proud he is of him, and how he's a student of the game. And it's this is not surprising to either of us about how well he's doing. And, it's great that he's starting to get some national attention, but unfortunately, to go back to JT Compher, I think Logan O'Connor's got to be the odd man out, and that sucks. It's, we talked about it numerous times about how deep the Avalanche are. And, a guy like Bednar has to make these tough decisions about, who to take in and who to bench. And, sometimes you're benching some star players. So it's a good problem to have, but it sucks for a guy like Logan O'Connor, who I think deserves to stay in. But JT Compher has the seniority, I guess, and I don't think JT Compher's been playing that great, so I would keep Logan O'Connor in. So we'll see. I think he should be back next game. JT Compher should. So we'll see what Bednar says, and I'll certainly be asking, if O'Connor is the guy out, they'll be like, Coach, how hard of a decision is it to take Logan O'Connor out, and at what point do you draw the line and bench somebody else because this guy's playing out of his mind?
Yeah, and that segs perfectly into our next question. Gary Thurner at Gary Thurner, he was asking, is Compher healthy? Does he play? If so, who sits? Logan O'Connor. Jose is what he said, but I'm probably guessing he meant Jost. And just sent that tweet. Jose, that's Jost's Hispanic
when
alter
did he
ego.
sign for the Avalanche? Yeah.
When did he? Was that Jose Theodore? Is he coming? Is he playing forward? What? I thought he was a goaltender. No, Jost. And then Pierre-Edouard Bellemare. Throw him in there. But no, I think unfortunately, when you have that depth and everything, Logan O'Connor. It's kind of got
to take the young guy out. It's unfortunate. I think it does boil down to kind of a seniority thing. It's you're not going to take Bellemare out. He's been in the league for a long time, and I'm sure he'd be the guy that would absolutely be okay with being benched because he understands it's a game, and you're doing everything you can to win. But yeah, I think Bednar he's got to make that tough call, and I think unfortunately it's going to be O'Connor who's out. And I talked about this with a lot of people on Twitter. About when he finally gets his shot. And I said, look, he signed a 2-year deal in the offseason after the playoffs last year. This first year was a 2-way, AHL, NHL deal. Next year is a full 1-way deal. So the plan is he is going to be, I believe, Matt Calvert's replacement next year, or Bellemare's replacement, either or could be. I think they're both in contract years, but Logan O'Connor will be a full-time NHLer next year, which is awesome. But I think, the way he's hitting his stride this season, it's tough to take him out. He's been a difference maker for the team, and if you really care about winning that much, I think you got to keep him in.
Yeah, so. Very, very well said, and good. You brought that up on the show before, and I'm glad you rehashed it because I'd forgotten that Logan O'Connor's contract is a 2-way. Next year it's a 1-way, so you can afford to send him to the Eagles, for some backup. You can afford to maybe do that and keep him fresh and get him some skating time and not let him, grow stagnant on the taxi squad, which I think a lot of teams are trying to avoid by and large. They're trying to mix it up and have, players come back down to the Eagles or come back up to the Avalanche to use this local example. But yeah, Logan O'Connor, like you said, he is the Rodney Dangerfield of the NHL. He just doesn't get any respect, if you know what I mean. So Pierre Maguire giving you some gold there, giving you some inspiration. Yeah. Shocker. Wow. All right. Next question. Alex Dagner at Alex Dagner 2. Okay. This is a really good one. What do you think realistically happens with the room Joe's made in the cap by moving EJ and Francouz to long-term IR? Does he grab a veteran centerman to stabilize the offense? Parentheses, Eric Stahl. Or do you ride with what you've got? Veteran backup for Gruby? parentheses, it says Rene, as in like the French first name Rene, but I think he meant Pecorine. So who's the backup for Groovy?
Sure.
Rene or Bernier? Those are two
Yeah.
names I haven't heard yet.
Well, so Bernier, he used to play. He was actually the backup for the Avs
Bernier, sorry.
for a few years. Yeah.
He was, yeah.
And honestly, like I think there's another question about like who the Avs like trade for us. So I could knock both these out at the same time.
Dude, where's my car? Joel the Sakic at
That's
Joel
it,
the
yeah.
Sakic. Yep.
Good friend of ours.
Yes.
I don't know if like the Avs don't have that much cap space. Even with these LTIR moves. Everyone, that seems to be the in vogue thing to do is, everyone wants Eric Stahl, just like Taylor Hall, last season or whatever.
Yep.
Everyone wants like the hot free agent, but it's like, guys, money doesn't grow on trees. Like, I don't know where you're getting this. Like, if they're going to make a trade, like they're going to have to trade a lot of assets, and maybe a guy like, JT Confer's on the move or someone else. But you're not just going to be able to like reel those guys in without giving up a lot of assets. And as far as what I think the Avalanche will do for moves, I mean, we already kind of have a wealth of riches at the forward spot. You got a guy, you're pushing a guy, Logan O'Connor, off the team. That's a good indication that the forward depth is pretty solid. Obviously, we talked about Miska a bunch, and we talked about how there needs to be a trade. I think if the Avs are going to do anything, it's got to be for a backup goalie, a reliable backup goalie to carry them through the playoffs. At this point, Frankie's gone. I don't think he's coming back. I don't think he's touched an ice surface in a few months. I don't know if it's a knee injury, groin injury, something. They're not telling us any sort of details. They never do. But I think he's probably done for the year. And at this point, Bednar actually talked about it with Eric Johnson too. Someone asked about that at the press conference. Like, I don't have any updates on him. To be honest with you, like I'm not hearing much, which is like not a good thing, because the less I'm hearing from him, it's like a good indicator that he's going to be out for quite some time. He's like, even if he were to come back in like 2, 3, 4 weeks or whatever, he's like, at this point it's a conditioning issue. Like, he's gonna have to like work his way back into the lineup by doing wind sprints and like getting, he hasn't touched an ice surface in a couple months now at this point. So same thing with Frankie. I think you can't just throw him back in like, oh great, he's healthy, let's give him a couple practices and he's back out there. It's going to take 2 to 3 weeks for him to just get back into game shape, doing wind sprints, getting on the bike, practicing twice a day. Optional skates are not optional for him. He's going to be on the ice. So yeah, again, at this point, I don't think like, even if Frankie were to come back with like 2 or 3 weeks left in the season, I'm not sure he's really an option, like a viable option. So with that said, being this, the halfway mark of the season, like today, I think you have to make a goalie trade. You have to make a trade for a backup goalie. So I think that's what they do. I think that's what they're probably looking at right now. And yeah, I don't know who that's going to be. Pecorine, maybe. Jonathan Bernier, more likely. That's a guy, like I've definitely heard, could be, he knows the system. They know what they can get out of him. He's a great serviceable backup goalie. He's going to be obviously a much cheaper option than Pecorine. So I think, Alex, you're spot on with those 2 goalies. I think those are guys they're looking at. But I would say, honestly, Jonathan Bernier is a guy I could see coming back at a low cost.
Yeah, that's a name I hadn't heard, at least in regards to this conversation. So, and apparently it's a name I haven't heard in a long time because I botched his last name. So, I mean, we wouldn't have an episode if one of us weren't mispronouncing.
Right. Jeez, bud, it's
mispronouncing. That's the word. The word is mispronouncing.
Can you use it in a sentence, please?
Country of origin. Oh, yep. We've devolved into a spelling.
There we go.
Here,
we are rounding third. We're heading home.
Rounding third. We're on the home stretch. We have one last question. We talked forwards. We talked goaltenders. And, of course, Alex Dagner coming in with another great question. Has Jacob McDonald played well enough to earn himself a regular roster spot once we, the Colorado Avalanche, are fully healthy on defense, i.e., could he push Graves for that 6th spot? So, top 6 that he hypothesizes: Makar, Byram, Tays, Gerard, Johnson, Graves / McDonald. Well, I mean, with McDonald on long-term IR, you could feasibly, keep McDonald up. But he produced a chart of even strength expected goals for percentage versus goals for percentage. And on that analytics chart, Jacob McDonald is in the top right-hand corner. Like, he's above all other defensemen in the the NHL rather. And so it's like, it is super impressive how, like, he's got this 64%, expected goals for percentage, and, a 75% goals, EV goals for percentage. So it's like he's, scoring chances and goals and puck luck. He's trending in both of those directions.
Yeah, no, he's a guy that's like definitely thoroughly impressed me. And, it's hard not to show my biases as, a guy that covered the Eagles for, and, cut his teeth covering the Eagles.
And your cousin.
Yeah, that's also the running joke on Twitter too.
Of
Like,
course.
anytime I tweet something good about Jacob McDonald, like, yeah, you're just biased. Like, that's your cousin, or like, yeah, it's your brother or whatever. It's like, no, it's
stick
not.
to family. No,
Yeah.
there's no relation. Sorry.
I wish, because he's a cool ass dude. Like, I would love to be like related to him or be his friend.
Sure.
But yeah, it's kind of growing stale for me that I definitely like pump the tires of like the former Eagles players, i.e. Logan O'Connor, Jacob McDonald. But it's true. Like, it's these guys I know better than any of like the Avalanche players, really, like on a personal level, and also just from seeing them more often. So it's hard not to be kind of biased in that regard. But it's awesome to see them kind of getting this national attention. You talk to Bednar about it. Like, obviously he loves Logan O'Connor, and when you ask him who's impressed him most of, like, the young guys that have had to step in through all these injuries that the Avs have fought through over the last month or so, Jacob McDonald's at the top of his list. And he's playing some crazy minutes, which is awesome. Like, the dude had played 2 NHL games before this season, and now he's up to like 16 or 17 games, and he's averaging like 17, 18 minutes a night, like playing the second most minutes, with like Cale Makar and Bo Byron being out. So it's awesome. It's awesome to see it. As far as to answer your question, Alex, I don't, unfortunately, just like the same situation with Logan O'Connor, I don't think, I think he's played well enough to, earn himself the role that he's in currently. But now that, Makar and Byram are out or back in, I think, that's going to start pushing a guy like McDonald out. And I don't think he replaces, Ryan Graves. I think it's a good thing that, Eric Johnson is out, because that's going to be his, the way he stays in this lineup. But yeah, if it were to come down to it, Eric Johnson comes back in a couple weeks, like, McDonald's absolutely getting sent down to the taxi squad. Just unfortunately, that's how it is. But I don't think, as up and down as Graves has played over like the last, entire season, I guess, I think he's kind of carved a niche for himself on the PK. He's a great penalty killer. I think Jared Bednar loves him for that. And in my opinion, I think Graves has gotten really good. I was not a fan of Graves to start the season. I don't think anyone was. Coach Bednar certainly wasn't. And he got healthy scratched a couple of times, but I think we're seeing the old Ryan Graves a little bit, the one we saw last season. And with that said, I don't think it's really a competition between Jacob McDonald and Ryan Graves. I think Ryan Graves is going to win that 10 times out of 10. So let's just, I guess with Eric Johnson staying out, I think McDonald should stay in, and like will stay in. So I guess we'll relish in this opportunity while he can and we can.
Well, and Scott, just to kind of wrap this up before we close out the program, I think it is, just with all this talk about like the problem, quote unquote, the problem of depth, and to have a guy like Logan O'Connor, and to have a guy like Jacob McDonald that are stepping in and showing out at the NHL level, I think this is a testament to the Avs being able to feasibly pull off a trade for a viable backup goaltender. And unfortunately, it's going to mean probably parting ways with someone that is, and I don't know who that name is. I don't know who the Avalanche would be willing to part with, in regards to, like I said, a hot prospect, or at least somebody that's, right on the fringe of the NHL and the AHL currently, in Jacob McDonald and Logan O'Connor. I mean, Scott, I know you wouldn't like to see Logan O'Connor get shipped off somewhere, but, I know Martin Kaut's name was the hot name last year in regards to, and like I said on the program, I sat next to a scout from the Rangers last year, and he was looking at Martin Kaut, and I'm like, Henrik Lundqvist deal, maybe? No, that didn't end up happening. So it's like, Yeah, we've been having this conversation for a viable backup goaltender. Last year, it was a goaltender. You're like, well, can Grubauer stay healthy? He is healthy this year, and by God, is he showing out.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to be real interesting to see how this shakes out before the trade deadline for sure. But Scott, any
Hang
closing
tight.
thoughts before we go into the outro?
I guess lay off Hunter Miska. Like everyone's got to chill out. I guess that's been the big theme of this episode. Yeah, he had a couple bad games. No, he's not an NHL backup goalie, but goddamn, you guys like got him to delete his account. Like, stop adding him. We won the game. Like, it's fine. It's not a big deal. It's not life or death. And I think he deserves a fair chance. And maybe he is just a great AHL goalie. Maybe he's not an NHL backup goalie yet, but let's lay off the guy. I think the Avs need to make a trade. I think everyone knows that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's all I have to say about that. And hopefully Logan O'Connor stays in the lineup.
I feel like we have, yes, of course. I feel like we have a title for our episode with an exclamation point at the end of it. Lay off Hunter Miska.
Yes.
I think
like
that's
it.
the title. That's the title. So with that all said, thank you all for tuning in to Front Range Hockey. Don't forget to give us a follow on pretty well any major podcast platform: Google, Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple, or I already said Apple, sorry. Just any major podcast platform out there you can think of, we're on it. So please subscribe to that, give our Twitter account a follow. As you can see, no, you can't see, I'm just reading from the script now. You can't see the handle scrolling below because we're on Zoom and we're not recording with our normal recording software. So at Front RNG Hockey is where you can follow us on Twitter. And I'm going to pass it over to Scott before I make any much more a fool of myself.
You don't do that.
Never.
Anyway, yeah. Thanks for listening, everyone. My name's Scott, at OffScottFree on Twitter. That's at 0FFScottFree. On there every day, as always. Covering the Avalanche game tonight. Hopefully bring you guys the coverage you deserve as Avs fans. And check out my work at Colorado Hockey Now. Subscribe to the website. We do some pretty decent work, in my humble opinion. And we post every day. It's like $4 a month, something like that, $3.99, $30 for the entire year, something like that. And I think you pay like less than 10 cents per story at the end of the day. So pretty damn good deal. But of course I'm biased, and I've showed my biases on numerous fronts today. My Miska bias, Jacob McDonald, Logan O'Connor, my site bias. So anyway,
well,
I'll shut my trap now.
Hey, as your co-host, I mean, I have a little bias too, but both Scott and Adrian Dater produce a hell of a lot of high quality work for Colorado Hockey Now. $4 a month, $30 a year. I mean, that's worth it for the work that these guys put in. So go subscribe. I totally agree with that. Second that wholeheartedly.
Thanks.
I'm CC Hawkley. Once again, you can find my written work at Full Press Hockey. That's www.fullpresshockey.com. Something I failed to mention that I just had a huge brain fart. Colorado Eagles, Ryan Tobler, not with the team anymore, left the team about a week and a half ago. They announced Brett Clark, a former Avalanche defenseman. Brett Clark, longtime player development assistant and coach for the Avs, is now the Eagles' assistant coach in Tobler's stead. And there has been no official announcements. Both guys are still on the Avs and Eagles websites in regards to team staff. So Mike Chambers from the Denver Post is the only person that's reporting on this. So yeah, I put out a story about it and said, as of 10 p.m. on Tuesday, both of these men were still on the website. So I forgot to mention that. Perfect timing. Just leave it for the end.
Yeah, exactly.
But I need to put on my investigative journalism hat and go forth and see what the hell's going on there. But anyway, that's my latest article for Full Press Hockey. Check out this program and a ton of other great hockey podcasts, plus other great sports pods on the Full Press Radio Network at www.fullpresscoverage.com. Guys, gals, and non-binary pals, thank you once again for listening. And as always, stay colorful, my friends. We'll catch you later.
See you, fans.
Bye.